Hi, this is Steven from Just Got Played, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about all the games that I played during Dice Tower East 2022, which you can see here happened July 6th through 10th. So that's Wednesday through Sunday. I don't actually go on Sunday. So I went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'll talk about all the games I played each of those days. I'm not going to talk about Murder on the Cosmic Express, though. You can see I'm the designer. I played this a bunch of times during the con. People know I designed it and they want to play it with me. So that's what we do. So anyway, I won't talk about that again, but I did want to mention I did play it. All right. So Wednesday, first day of the con. This is how my con started. I went to go leave the house and flat tire. So anyway, that actually only ended up delaying me a couple hours, but I did eventually make it to the con. And when I got there, lo and behold, Star Wars Villainous was on the hot games table. What's interesting, it says 2 to 4 players. We played it 5 players because I think there are 5 villains. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're not supposed to do that, but that's what we did. There you go. You can see all the 5 villains. It is basically Villainous with the Star Wars theme pasted on top of it. You have a board and you have a specific fate deck and, cards, and you're basically trying to achieve some goal. If you're Darth Vader, you're trying to move Luke Skywalker and turn him to the dark side. Or if you're Kylo Ren, you're just trying to commit fully to the dark side versus the light side, etc. Everybody's got their own little thing they're trying to do, including experiment on Grogu. How evil. I found this to be more interesting than Disney Villainous. Maybe I just like the Star Wars theme better than the Disney theme. I definitely think it fits better in a Villainous game. The gameplay is slightly different, but it's not. I haven't played the Marvel version where all the fate decks are mixed or something. This one plays just like the Villainous, where everybody has their own fate deck. It's a good game. It was on the hot games table. So I grabbed one of my friends. We went over there. There were 3 people from England were sitting down learning to play it. And we all just figured it out together and had a good time. After that, I met up with some of my friends and we played 6 Nimmt. So 6 Nimmt is new to me. You're going to see a lot of these games are new to me, right? When I go to a con, I usually try to play games that I don't have easy access to. But if I do see people wanting to play a game, that's something that I know, I'll teach that too. So, but in general, newer games. 6 Nimmt is a card game, and it's pretty simple. Everybody has a hand of cards, and you're simultaneously choosing one, and you lay it down, and everybody reveals simultaneously. And your card goes on the end of the row that it will fit in. So it's larger than the last number on the row. And if yours is the 6th card, you take the whole row, and there are these symbols, which are the number of points, I guess, you take for taking those. And points are negative. You don't want those. It's interesting trying to manage your hand. When are you going to play different cards, etc. It was okay. It's a pretty good as a filler game. So following that up, same group of people wanted to play L.L.A.M.A, which is another one of these sort of light card games. In this game specifically, you're trying to get rid of all the cards in your hand, although you can strategically decide when you're going to drop out and just take points for what's in your hand, etc. So it goes 1 through 6, and then llamas. If there's a 1 on the stack, you can play a 1 or a 2, so you can keep playing the number that's there, or you can increase it. Or you can draw some cards. But ultimately, you don't want cards. There are a few strategic decisions in this game. I didn't feel like there was a lot going on here. So I wouldn't say I would really recommend it. I would definitely play it if somebody wanted to play it, but it's not something that I would have in my library to use sort of as a filler. I mean, I would say 6 Nimmt, which we played right before this, was a better game. All right. So then continuing on with the same group, we played Werewords. So this is a game that I know very well, and I had the app on my phone. In fact, we were using my phone at one point to run it. But in Werewords, this isn't the English version, but it shows you a lot of the components, right? So it's a combination of 20 questions and werewolf, basically. So you have these different roles. And one person is the mayor, and the mayor's job is to use the app to pick a word, and then everybody asks them questions, and the mayor gets to use these chips to say, yes, no, so close, or, whatever, until the group maybe gets the word. The werewolves don't want the group to get the word. The villagers do want the group to get the word. There's a weird situation where the person, the mayor answering the questions, could be a werewolf and doesn't want people to get it. So that's definitely a weird situation. And there are a bunch of other rules, like a seer that knows what the word is but can't let on because they can get identified at the end and their team can lose. But yeah, so it's basically 20 questions with a traitor, and this is I love this game. I love this game as a filler. We always have a lot of fun playing it, so it was fun to break it out at the con. So another one of my friends had a copy of Fjords, which I guess is relatively new, 2022. I was not familiar with it, but looking at it, I thought it looked sort of interesting. It's tile placement, and I like tile placement games. So immediately I was intrigued, and she said it was also area control. I'm like, okay, I like area control too. So all right, this looks fun. And the game is played. We played it 2-player, and she said it's best at 2-player. I think it would probably be better at 3 or 4. But I've only played it at 2. So you're in the first phase, you are taking one of these tiles and you're building it onto the map. And when you build that onto the map, you can choose to put one of your tents on it, right? So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 tents, I think. Yeah. You can put these tents on it, and you keep doing that until, I don't know, all the tiles are exhausted, or some number of tiles are exhausted, and you want to make sure to get all your tents out before all the tiles are exhausted. And then once that phase is done, you do the next phase. And so in the next phase, you get to place out one of your, I don't know, they're foot soldiers, villagers, something. You place one of these out next to one of your tents or one of your other villagers. So essentially, you're just trying to claim area. So obviously, if you can move into an area, like go here and then cut this off, then you've reserved this for later. The black player can never get in here to get those. So you're trying to, when you're building it, you're trying to strategically place villages in ways that you can cut stuff off. But then, as you take turns placing these villagers, you're trying to strategically block off, but also make sure you claim areas that are sort of disputed. Like, if I don't place here, they can place there. They're going to take it. Essentially, the goal of the game is to be the last person still placing people, because that means you've placed more people and you're winning. I was pleasantly surprised by this game. I thought it was really good. I don't play a lot of games at 2, like I said, but I think something like this with the area control aspect going on would be good at 3 or 4. So yeah, good game. I recommend checking that one out. Also on the hot games table was Planet Unknown. Planet Unknown, another new game, was delivered from a Kickstarter. I actually was playing a friend's copy, not the one on the hot games table the first time I played it. I did later play it at the hot games table as well. I was able to teach and play it again. Usually I don't play the same game more than once at a con, but in this case I did. And this game particularly intrigued me. You can see it's 1 to 6 players, 60, 80 minutes. So that works really well for my group. And you can see the weight isn't too high either. So the game is pretty quick to teach, plays pretty quickly, and plays a higher number of players. So those are all things that were, pretty interesting to me. So I was glad I got a chance to play this game, which I really enjoyed. This is what it looks like on the table. It is a polyomino game in that every turn you are, whoever is the active player is rotating this lazy Susan. So say this is the active player. That's what that symbol means. They will be able to take one of these 2 tiles in this section because that's where they rotated it. And then everybody else takes tiles from the section that's pointing towards their marker. So you get to take one tile and then you place it on your board. And depending on what is on the tile that you take, every tile has sort of 2 colors to it. So depending on where you place it, it moves you up on these different tracks. So there's like a tech tree. There's a thing that lets you move your rover around. There's a thing to put biomass out. Oceans are worth a lot of points. Water is worth a lot of points. And then there's these like the Civ track, which unlocks these Civ cards, which have other special benefits. So yeah, you're constantly trying to move up on these tracks and unlock stuff. And then also you score points for claiming rows and columns on the board. Having those completed at the end of the game scores you extra points. And then you have these pods, which you can clobber or rescue using your rover that you move around. You have these meteors that block you from scoring points unless you collect them. But they're these meteorites or meteors, whatever, they are worth points if you collect them too. And those come depending on whether or not they're on your tile. So there's a lot going on here, but it's actually fairly simple to teach. It flows pretty well. This is a good game. This is a game that, I'd passed on this on the Kickstarter when it was out. I've been doing a lot of that lately, passing on Kickstarters. But, now that I see this one, I'm thinking, maybe I will. Maybe I will get a version of this game. So I don't know. We'll see. But, I definitely give this a thumbs up and say, give it a shot. Next was the Crew Mission Deep Sea. So I have the Crew Mission Deep Sea. I got this. I replaced the Quest for Planet 9 with the Crew Mission Deep Sea. See, it's a cooperative game, plays 2 to 5 players, plays really fast. Typically, you're going to play a bunch of missions, as it were, in one session. But it's a cooperative trick-taking game. So you have all these cards, and these submarine cards are trump, and then all these other cards are different colors that go from 1 to 9. And then you have missions. So whoever's the captain, who has the 4 submarine, has to choose one of the available missions that round, and then it goes around other people choose. It sort of depends on how many players you have and what level you're at, how many missions you have to achieve. But the missions are different things. Like, for instance, this one says, I will win more yellow than blue cards. Okay. And so that sort of shows you that in that picture. So at the end of the game, when you look at all the different tricks you've won and all the cards that you have, you look and count and you make sure you have more yellow than blue in your stack of tricks you've taken. And where it says, I'll win the green 6, right? Okay. So you can win that with a trump card. You can win that with a higher green card. You can win that by playing a blue card and somebody sloughs the green on you, right? There's a lot of different ways you could do that. And, winning the green 6 with the green 7 shouldn't be that hard because other players are not, they know what your goals are and it's cooperative. They want you to succeed. So, it's a fun game. You can communicate a little bit. You have these communication tokens where you can put a card down and say, this is my only of this color, or this is my highest or lowest of this color, or whatever. So some interesting communication that you can do there. But otherwise, you can't really communicate about what's in your hand because otherwise, it'd just be really silly. It wouldn't even be much of a game. All right. And so this is my last game for the day. I decided to end the game with Colt Super Express. So I had never played Colt Super Express, but I have played a lot of Colt Express. So I like Colt Express. I was interested to see what had they done in the card game. So if you look at this, 3 to 7 players, 15 to 20 minutes, also really quick to set up compared to, say, Colt Express. And, I guess I will just keep comparing this to Colt Express because for me, personally, I was trying to decide, would I replace the Colt Express that I have with Colt Super Express? So in the game, you're laying out train cars and you do one more than the number of players. And players can be either in the train car or on top of the train car, and they can be facing the back of the train or the front of the train. This is a promo card here, the time travel car out in front, which is cool. And then you just program your hand for that round. So what are you going to do? Are you going to move up? Are you going to move down? Are you going to shoot? Are you going to move forward a car or turn around, whatever, So you have all these different choices. So you program all those things and then you go in player order and you just see what happens. And if you get knocked, if you get knocked off the back of the train, if you get knocked off the front of the train, you're out. You're out for the game. Or if you're in the last car at the end of the round, that one's going to get knocked off. So progressively, the train's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And so there is player elimination here, but it's, the game is super fast. So I don't mind that in this kind of game. And there is sort of a tiebreaker if I don't know. I don't. The game usually ends with last man standing, but there is a tiebreaker in that if you were the furthest forward when a car gets knocked off, you claim that, and it's worth some random amount of points, and whoever has the most wins. But I sort of feel like this is just last man standing, essentially last train robber standing, whatever you are. So Colt Super Express fit in one of those photo boxes, little tiny photo boxes, compared to this big Colt Express box that has all the assembled train cars. So I do think I am going to replace Colt Express with Colt Super Express because it gave me the Colt Super Express experience. It takes up a lot less shelf space, and plays fast with the same high number of players. So yeah, there you go. That is day 1. All right, let's move on to day 2. All right, on day 2, I walked into the hall in the morning, and a lot of the people that I normally play with, people that I know, they make really late nights of the con, and so they're not there in the morning. So I looked around, didn't see anybody I knew, didn't see offhand any games that I wanted to play, and new games that I wanted to play. And then I saw a group getting ready to play Cascadia, and I was like, all right, well, I like Cascadia, and been a few months since I played it, so let's try that again. It just recently won an award, one of the Spiel des Jahres award, maybe the Spiel des Jahres, yeah, I guess. Get a lot of buzz, Cascadia, so I figured, okay, well, let's give it another shot. And one of my top games of 2021, and this playthrough of it just improved my opinion of it. It's a pretty simple game. There are these 5 different animals, and they each have a different scoring condition. The scoring condition differs depending on which card you've drawn for that game. And then there are going to be tiles out, and each tile has different animals that can be placed on it, and then there are the animal token that is associated with that tile, because you take these things in pairs on your turn. You can use a nature token to not take them in pairs. You can, do some other stuff like wipe the animals if there's too many of a certain type of animal, whatever it is. But anyway, you're going to take these tiles and you're going to place them on your map, and then you also have to place the animal tokens somewhere on your map. It doesn't have to be on the same tile. And at the end of the game, you're going to score according to however those animals are. Like birds typically don't want to be next to each other. This fox here wants to be surrounded by different types of animals, stuff like that. So you're trying to match these patterns to score points, but also you're trying to lay the tiles out in such a way that you have the largest of any given terrain feature, right? So like maybe you want the largest desert, like, I don't know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a 6 desert, so maybe they'll keep building on this desert and try to make a bigger desert, get points for that. You get points for your largest, but also points for having the largest sort of contiguous set. So anyway, it's just sort of puzzly, good game, not new to me, but glad I got to play it again. After that, I did find one of my friends. We got some people together to play Brian Boru, which probably was the game I was most looking forward to playing at the con. Right? I like area control. I like trick-taking games. I was curious to see how this combination works. And basically, if you're the person leading the trick, whatever, you play a card, and then everybody else plays a card. They don't have to follow suit, which is a little weird. But if you win, you get the benefit at the top of the card. If you don't win, you get one of the benefits at the bottom of the card. And also if you win, you get to put one of your markers in the area control space. So again, this was, I think, my most anticipated game of the con, and it really sort of fell flat for me. It did not feel like a trick-taking game at all. Most of the time I found myself not wanting to win the trick. I wanted to play the lower cards that gave these benefits that allowed me to do something else. And again, you don't have to follow suit. So you can just play some other card. Like, I don't know. I was expecting it to feel like a trick-taking game, and maybe it's an unfair comparison because it's just not, I don't know. It's just not that. in addition to that, the area control felt sort of weak to me. I don't know. I went the Viking route. I almost won the game. Somebody sniped me for some Viking tokens there in the very last round, at the very end, when they were running out. And I think I would have won the game if I'd gotten those, but I didn't. So my strategy didn't work out, and I finished, I don't know, second or third or something. So that was interesting. I went sort of a different route than what you would expect, but I did that because I don't know, I just wasn't really, the rest of the game wasn't feeling that interesting. So I was trying to find the fun by doing that. Not sure I would, I guess I would give it another shot if somebody wanted to play it again, but I wouldn't choose to play this game again. So too bad. Had high hopes for it. Next, some of my friends were playing Cupcake Empire, which I really knew nothing about, wasn't particularly interested in, but you see it set up on the table like this, and you're like, oh, that's pretty. All right, this is sort of interesting. What's going on here? And it does have some interesting mechanisms where you roll these different colored dice, and then you put them in the column where they belong. And if they're in the color of the, right, because this is a 4, it belongs in this column. 3s go in this column. If the color happens to correspond, the column they're in allows you to take a lower level of benefit. So each turn, you're going to choose one of these columns to activate, and you're going to activate what the lowest level benefit you get here is. And then you might have leveled it up with these other tokens to get added benefits when you do that. And then you take the dice that were there and you roll them and you reallocate them somewhere, etc. And ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to get tops and bottoms to cupcakes and combine them in ways such that you can, well, I don't see any of the people out here that want, I don't see any of the tokens there. Oh, here's a token, right? So, this is the token color, like the color shirt and their color pants tell you which combination of colors they want for the cupcake that you can make a delivery to. So you can see all these have been cleared off because they've been delivered to. But normally they start out on these houses, and you have to have either a bakery or a retail outlet in the area, and you can knock out other people's retail outlets, but not their bakeries. And you have these 2 different tracks going on. One is sales, and one is sort of like your bakery prowess or something. I don't know. And you're trying to maximize both of these because the lower one is your income for the round on your turn, and income is points. I thought it was a decent game, right? This whole dice mechanism and how it worked. I just found that it was a 4-player game, and it's like I took my turn and I rolled my dice, and then I was ready to take my next turn, but I ended up just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I am not a guy that criticizes games for downtime very much at all. I don't mind just seeing what other people are doing, or thinking about what am I going to do on my turn, during other people's turns. But something about this game was just like, I rolled my dice. Okay, now I know what I want to do. And all right, well, now everybody else is sort of doing their thing, and I'm going to wait a long time. I don't know. Downtime in this game, 4 players, was really too much for me for what the game is anyway. So would I play it again? Yeah, sure. I would play it again. Definitely wouldn't put it in my collection. Wouldn't suggest it as a game to play with somebody else either, but not a bad game. A game that I, again, was really interested in playing, but fell flat for me, again, was Modern Art. So I really like auction games. I like Kinesia games. There's 3 to 5 players, 45 minutes. That's pretty good for me, as far as those numbers go. And you can see this is the version that I actually played. So you've got a shield, and then behind your shield you have money, and then these different cards are coming out. And depending on what the card says, the auction type is different. And when several art from a given artist has been auctioned in an individual round, the round ends, and whichever artist had the most, there's go for more, and these sort of stack over time. And, to be honest, I found the game just sort of fiddly, just a bunch of different auction types thrown into one. And, gosh, I don't know. One of the guys was going on and on and on about the strategy of this game. Like, you've got cards, but you're going to hold those cards for later rounds while sort of encouraging them to be more valuable now. Like, I I mean, he went on and on about this strategy, and he did win the game, but not by that much. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like a weird mishmash of auction mechanisms that didn't really click for me. And, normally I would say, well, normally I can see a game like this and go like, okay, I get it. I just need to play again to better understand or try something else or whatever. And I just I don't know. I don't want to play it again, right? There's so many good auction games. And I played this one. I did all right. I mean, I think I did finish second. But I don't know. It was weird, not entirely enjoyable. So yeah, I have people, a lot of people have told me this is the best auction game ever. I can't believe you haven't played this. Because I always say that For Sale is my favorite auction game. Well, now I've played it, and I still think For Sale is head and shoulders better of an auction game. But, that's my opinion there. So next is City Chase. So I had seen a video of Tom Vassal from the Dice Tower talking about this game, and I was like, oh, I think that might be something my kids would like. And it's from Korea Board Games, so I didn't even know if you could get it in the United States. But there it was on the shelf, and I was like, oh, I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I wonder if I can find somebody to play this with me, right? I'm just going to play it real quick to see if I think my kids will like it. And so I did. I grabbed somebody and we played it. And the game is really fast. And it's pretty simple. It's a 2 to 4 player game. One person is the thief who is trying to hide. The other players are the police. And one player can control all 3 helicopters. So you can play it just fine as a 2-player game. The thief takes one of these tokens off this track, puts their car on it, and puts the building back on top of it. So the police don't know where they are. And then the police get to do their turn. And then the thief moves again, leaving that token behind and putting a new token down. And they can't double back on themselves ever. All right, so they're leaving this trail of breadcrumbs. It starts with this yellow one. There's a red one halfway in between, and they're all blue. And if they go 11 rounds without getting caught, they win. But the police, on their turn, each helicopter gets an action, and it can either move or it can search one of the neighboring buildings. And, if they search, they could find one of your breadcrumbs. Like, oh, that's where they started. Or, oh, that's where they were at the middle. Or, hey, I found a blue one. Is that from 6 rounds ago or last round? I don't know. So, yeah, really interesting, simple, hidden movement game. It's from Korea Board Games, but they did have copies listed on Amazon, and it was on sale for Prime Day. So I did get a copy, and my kids do enjoy it. So one of the few games that I actually did decide to purchase out of my play from Dice Tower Con. So interesting. City Chase. If you want to play a hidden movement game with your kids, consider this one. Scotland Yard, I also think, is good, although more complicated. Next was Bristol 1350. So somebody had been bugging me to play this game for a long time. It's pretty quick. Oh, our play took more than 40 minutes, though, I swear. I don't know why. But we did play it. Gosh, 7 or 8 players. It is nice that it goes up to a lot of players. But essentially, you're one of these tokens. That was the purple princess or something. I don't know. It was some royal, well-dressed lady. I was role-playing the whole time. But you can sort of push your way around the cart or jump into other carts or knock people out of carts or whatever. But basically, you're just trying to be in this cart when it gets out of the city and not have contracted the plague. And people can play cards on your cart to make your cart mingle to hopefully, so you can sort of trade cards around. Hopefully, they're trying to get you infected so that you don't win when you get out of the city and their cart does. It was... I've heard people play this game and say they had a blast. It was hilarious. It was fun. I played it and it was okay. Because the way the carts were set up in my specific play, there wasn't a whole lot of jostling between the carts. There was one cart that was sort of annoying in that, there's these dice that you roll as well to determine whether you mingle or move forward or whatever. But there was one cart, it was like one person set a die to a specific face, and then another person right next to them in turn order in their same cart would lock it. And I don't know. There were just some mechanisms at play that made the game, I think, maybe a little more boring than other plays of it that have happened. So, overall, I thought it was okay, but I wasn't wowed by it. And I was slightly disappointed in that I was expecting it to be a little more fun that it ended up being. But still, worth playing once to see if you like it. If somebody in your group has a copy. Role Player. So Role Player, one of my favorite games. I really enjoy the theme of this one. I enjoy the dice placement. There were 2 copies in the Dice Tower library, and there's one that's just the base game, and then there's another that I think has everything. And there's like a Monsters and Minions expansion, and then a Fiends and Foes or something expansion. I actually don't like the last expansion. I like the base game with Monsters and Minions, but I don't think they had that combo in the library, oddly enough. And it's not trivially easy to separate them either. So anyway, I don't know. But there was a guy who wanted to play this, and he had just brought the base game, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. I would always prefer to play with Monsters and Minions, but let's go ahead and play. You got the base game, let's play it. So you set it out, and you're selecting what do you want to be. So this is an orc board, and then you get a choice. You want to be a rogue, and then some backstory. You're a savant, and you got this alignment. He's a champion, and there's a female side and a male side to the board, so you can decide which one of those you want to be. And then they have different. So orcs, for instance, have +2 to their strength row, but -2 to their intelligence row. But basically, every turn if you're the active player, you pull some dice out of the bag, you roll them, and then you place them in ascending order on these initiative cards. And so if you want to take a card that is lower in the initiative, or higher initiative, I guess, but lower die number, that allows you to, in the second phase, the market phase, to go first or sooner and in turn order, which allows you to get your choice of these skill cards or trait cards or equipment or whatever. I mean, you still have to pay for them or whatever, but you can get to them before other players can get to them, or other players might discard them for money. So you kind of want to go first in turn order, but then you also sort of need the higher number dice, because you want higher numbers in your stats generally to unlock these higher numbers required here to get these extra points. Additionally, you want to get specific colors of dice. So this is telling you these dice should be in these places in specific colors. And also, you have a specific color, in this case black, assigned to your player, so you get extra points for having black dice, right? So, there's the color of the die, the number on the die, you're worried about initiative, and so you decide where you're going to draft, and you just keep doing that over and over and again until you fill up your player board. And when you put these dice in here, and these dice have to build from left to right, when you put these dice in here, they trigger abilities that help you manipulate the dice. So you can see there's like 6 different things over here that you score based on. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it satisfying rolling up a character, trying to match these stats, trying to get this stuff lined up. It's a good game, and I am always willing to play it, and I highly recommend it with the expansion. So when, a guy I knew wanted to play it at the convention to close out day 2, I did, and played 3 players and had a good time. All right, so that wraps up day 2. All right, on to day 3. So day 3 would have been Friday, and when I arrived at the con, somebody I know was setting up Cape May. So I vaguely remember, I think when this was on Kickstarter or something, or maybe when it was just first coming out. Maybe it wasn't a Kickstarter, but it was announced by Thunderworks. And thinking, it looked neat, but I just sort of didn't ever put it on my playlist, didn't really think about it, but I saw it out on the table. I thought, okay, well, that's pretty neat. So what is this? Let's play. All right, you've got a slot to play. Let's play. We ended up playing a 3-player. So if you look at it here, it is mostly an area control game. So you have the areas in here that are sort of concrete, and then grasslands, and then this sort of brown area, like dirt maybe, and then there's the sand way up here along the beach. And, there's a aspect to it where if you have the most buildings in that area at the end, you get more points. The areas up here are sort of more numerous and worth more points. But the facilities that you build here, the houses that you build down here, the houses which you can turn into like Victorian mansions or even landmarks, they're worth more points as you move down here. So there's a question like, do you want to move down here and get more valuable things? You want to try to do area control up here. There are private goals, that people have. And that sort of, at least in my case, drove what I was trying to do. And you can't just build wherever you want. You have this avatar, meeple, whatever it is. And you start up here. And so I just kind of walked my way along here slowly, picking up these areas, looped around and back and got some grass and concrete. And I was able to win the game that way, although it was close. The movement is kind of interesting. You have a hand of cards 1 through 7. And that tells you how many spaces you move when you play that card. So if you play the 1 or the 7, you have to pay 2 money. If you pay the 2 or the 6, you have to pay 1 money. But the 3, 4, 5, you don't have to pay anything. So you play those cards and you lay those down, and you can, as one of your actions, you can spend an action to just take all your cards back, so you have more movement available. So there's definitely an economy of what you want to do with your actions, and also when you're building on these spaces, if you build on the spaces, if you build a retail outlet, and even you can upgrade it to a shop, and then the further along it is here, the more sort of income that gives you, right? So income is important to get money to do other stuff. But you can also build the houses, but the houses are worth points. So, there's a question sort of like, what do you want to do? Everybody sort of out of the gate really does, I think, more of the shops to get their income going. There's 4 seasons with 3 in each. So there's only 12 turns that you get, and there's an event every time, and there's income at the end of each season. And so there's a lot going on here, a lot of interesting mechanisms. I like the card play to move your person. I like sort of competing over these private goals. You may not really know what they are, but obviously there's some tension there with people you're competing with, and the decisions whether, to build a house, or really just when to switch from building the commercial buildings to the housing buildings, switch from income to points. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, and the game did run a little long. I think that was maybe AP from the 2 people I was playing with, but I think it could hum along with people who'd played it before. So yeah, this is one I recommend checking out. All right. Next, decided to play Meeples Monsters. So there was somebody that I had only known from Board Game Geek and was at the con, and he was interested in playing Meeples Monsters. He was just listing some games that he was interested in playing, and I wanted to play a game with him. And Meeples Monsters was one he mentioned, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a Kickstarter, and of course I know the designer, Ole Steinus, his previous work on Police Precinct, and I think Champagne's Midgard. So, I was interested in this. So, we got it out, and 3 of us decided to play it. It says 45 to 60 minutes. I think it ran a little long for us. I think we were looking a lot of stuff up, trying to sort of figure out how to play this game in the beginning. It's not a hard game to play, but figuring out what was going on was a little cryptic. But essentially, you've got a bag builder, and you have these different types of meeples in your bag, and you pull those out, and they're the basic types: mage, cleric, knight, warrior, and you have some peasants in your bag. And you can level those up, right? So you can see these are up at level 3, and so they do different things. But essentially, you're going to take those meeples out of your bag, and you're going to either place them on buildings out here to, worker placement style to sort of trigger things, or you're going to place them on monsters that are out on the board to try to defeat those monsters and get rewards. I like bag builders. I like the idea of, worker placement / fighting monsters with what comes out of your bag and leveling up your characters. And like everything about this game sounds like it's going to be really cool. But then the execution of it just really isn't. We didn't find ourselves actually using these buildings very much. It can be punishing to use them if there are monsters out. So we did use them, but it didn't feel like a worker placement game where you use them a lot. The monsters, there were these private goals that sort of sucked. Some of them were hard, and it wasn't easy to get rid of them, and they're negative if you don't fulfill them. And there were monsters that when you defeat them give you like draw one new private goal and you think that's sort of awesome, but you could just draw something that you're never going to do, or it conflicts with something else you're doing, and then you've got to find some way to discard that. And there's even these final bosses that you fight. So you can be sort of curating your bag of meeples, the whole time to fight these bosses at the end to try to score points that way. But then still at the end, you've got this random draw, did the things come out that I need to fight, the end bosses efficiently for points. So gosh, this is from AEG, right? So I was expecting a polished product, but it felt like this was like 85% there. I felt like this needed some more development cycles to really unlock the fun that's here. Because I think there are the bones of a good game here. It's just the final product just didn't deliver on what I was expecting. Next, the Guild of Merchant Explorers. So this is sort of the opposite of the last experience I was talking about, because this is a game I'd never heard of. I didn't know anything about this, but it was one of the better games I played in the con. It was funny. This is also AEG, right? So anyway, I will say one knock against it is that it only goes up to 4 players. And that is the reason why this isn't in my collection today. Because if this supported 6 or 7 players, I would have bought this. I would have ordered it right there while I was at the con. But essentially, this is a flip and write. So you have every round, that certain actions are going to come out. An action that lets you put cubes on the water, or the forest, or the mountain, or desert, or something of your choice. But you don't know what order that's going to happen in. But then also every age, I think it's called. So in the first age, when there's going to be the age 1 card flips up, and then you're going to draw a couple of specialized abilities and pick one that you're going to keep for the rest of the game. And then you use it immediately, and then you save it for the future ages as well. So now everybody started with the same board and everybody started doing the same things, but now, or, triggering the same actions, even if they didn't do the same thing. But now they have this asymmetric power in their ability pile, which is nice, right? So you get your age 1 up here, and then age 2, and then age 3. But in age 2, you'll get another one, the age 2 one. But also the age 1 will trigger again. And then age 3, 3, 2, and 1 will trigger. And age 4, 3, 2, and 1 will trigger, but also do one of the 3 of your choice will trigger. And so I really liked that part where you sort of differentiated yourself with these powers. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're putting out these cubes. And these cubes have to start at your capital city or one of these taverns, villages. I can't remember what these are called that you built. And the way that you build those is during one of the ages, if you fill in an area, like I fill in all this grassland here, then I can put one of these down, right? So fill in all these mountains, I can put one of these down. And it's important because at the end of an age, all these cubes are going to come off the board. And then you can only start building off of these things. And so, you have different goals that you might be trying to do. You might be trying to get on these spaces. Like this is a ruin that gives you a treasure. So you mark it as used by putting a treasure thing on it. These coins are points, so you want to run over those. You want to connect different cities to other cities to create a trade route, which is worth a bunch of points. Collecting these towers. There's like a set collection, sort of. Get these towers for a bunch of points if you can get all of those. And then there are 3 sort of goals that are being raced towards by everybody. The first people to achieve them get a bonus twice the size of everybody who subsequently achieves it. So it's pretty interesting, right? There's a puzzly aspect going on here. And it's one of those games too, where like you just sit down and you start playing and you're like, okay, place 1 cube in the mountains. And you're like, how am I ever going to get anywhere? How am I going to do anything? But then by, the 4th age, you're putting cubes out all over the map and you're all over the place. And really pleasantly surprised. Played this twice. Again, that's not common for me at a con, but and I only played the basic map both times. But there are other maps and other goals and objectives that go with those. So, this is a really good game. You should definitely check this out if you have a chance. So The next game is so there's a local couple that I know, and their daughter was at the convention, their young daughter, and she was playing games, and she was recruiting people to play this game, Farm Rescue, that she had gotten like dirt cheap at the flea market or something. I'm like, okay, well, fine, I'll play. You need players. I'll play with you. I do like to play games at the convention that I think might be good for my kids. So it's not unheard of to see me playing a kids game, but this one is even younger than my kids. And it is basically just a memory game. You roll dice, and so you might roll like whatever, the purple chicken, and so you have to flip the purple chicken over. And then later when you roll the purple chicken again, you have to remember, well, where was the purple chicken? So you can flip it up. And if you get it right, you move the farmer, and if you get it wrong, you move the wolf. And you just need the farmer to catch the wolf before the wolf gets into the farmyard. So yeah, that's it. It's just a memory game. A slightly gamified, cooperative version of a memory game. So, young kids, it'd be fine. And it was fast and it worked. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's just, I'm not really a big fan of just playing memory games. But ages, I think I said ages 4 and up. So yeah, young kids, this is great. It's fine game. All right, next is Sweetlandia. So this is another game that I knew nothing about. And it's just a very basic auction bidding game with some really pretty cards. Plays up to 6 players, 30 minutes. That's about right. We played this really quick. Yeah, not very heavy. And this is from Ultra Pro. So one of my friends just they had a booth at the convention. So one of my friends just bought this. Thought it looked neat, and I don't think it was particularly expensive. There is 0 pictures of it at Board Game Geek other than that cover. So I just went and found this off of their website, I think, where they're selling it. But basically, there's every round you're going to have 3 public goals, donuts or points, and a private goal. And then these cards are going to come out, and you're going to have a hand of cards to do the auction with, to bid on. And these are nobody has the same number card. So you'll use up all the numbers from your hand, or almost all the numbers, and then you'll swap your numbers with somebody else's and get their set. And you just keep playing rounds that way. I thought it was okay. It's got this sort of combo thing going on where you want to get certain types of things in combos to score more points. Some of the lower numbered bid cards have donuts on them themselves, so they give you points just for playing them. I found myself, anytime I had a bid card that gave me donuts, I just played that, because more often than not, I didn't really care what I was getting from the auction. Sometimes I did, but sometimes I just really didn't. So, I wouldn't say it was the strongest auction game I've ever played. It's not as good as, say, For Sale. I did enjoy it more than Modern Art, though. I will say that. It was a decent auction game. And if I didn't have a copy of For Sale on me, but I had this, I would play it. So there you go. Sweetlandia. All right. Next was Foundations of Rome. So this was definitely a con game for me, in that it's big, expensive, and I'm never going to have it in my collection, and probably nobody I know will, right? It takes an entire cube of a bookshelf, like a calyx, to store it. And it costs hundreds of dollars because it is a grandiose production. This is sort of the central board at the end of a game. So you can see all the tiles have been covered up with these grandiose buildings. This one has been purchased but not replaced with a building. But normally these start out, like A1, A2, A3, A4. So if you played a game like Acquire, it feels a lot like that. Those locations, you get some randomly at the beginning of the game, but then after that, they just come up sort of, it's not really for auction, they come up for sale, right? And so if you buy the ones that are lowest on the market, they're the cheapest, and the others slide down, but you can jump out and buy, if one just comes up that you need, you can pay a lot of money and take it from the top of the market on your turn. And you can collect income from your buildings, and buildings give you points or income, or, there's a lot going on here for scoring. I will say, though, that there's something that I didn't like about this game, other than the fact that production of it is just ridiculous and will keep me from buying the game ever. But the other thing is that, gosh, I don't know. I've played games like Acquire, and there's something strategic about, I'm just going to get this one square that's sort of over next to your squares because it's going to be valuable. I'm going to sell it to you or trade it to you, or somehow try to get merged into your set or something, right? There's some value in this thing that I'm going to put next to you, and that triggers this sort of player interaction. But I find in this game, I did that a few times. Something was cheap and it was over near somebody who, had some stuff that I thought I was eventually going to want. And so I just bought things in their space. I thought we would trade, but it was just, there was not that much trading. And part of it is just these dopey little one-off things. They have a lot of these one-off buildings that score points for being next to other stuff that people build. So now I found myself, instead of wanting to trade with them, to want to just build something to score points or income or whatever off what they built. And so, that's a different strategy. It's a different game, but it's not what I wanted out of the game, right? I wanted that wheeling and dealing sort of feeling that you get with people just having sort of random properties acquired around the board, and then people trying to, make deals and sense of it. And so I came into this game with that expectation. I didn't get it, so I felt a little let down. Now that I know it, I played it again, I would play it sort of differently. I'd be like, okay, well, I just want to make sure that they're obviously building a big building over here, and I know which one they're going to build, so I want to get in here so I can fit my thing next to it, whatever. But again, that's less interaction than what I was expecting. Definitely, though, this is a good game. You should try it if you're at a con. It's in the library or whatever. Give it a whirl. It just sort of fell flat based on my expectations. So I mentioned before playing games that I was curious if my kids would like. My kids do like the Princess Bride movie. Of course, I would disown them if they didn't. So I'd heard that this Princess Bride adventure book game was actually pretty good. And it was a mass market thing, as far as I know. It was in Target or something, and this is the second mission here. It does, it goes pretty well along with the story. You've got people on the board and things that have to happen. Here are the challenges, and it just follows along with the story. So I thought it was pretty good. We played through the first scenario, very simple, and took a look at some of these other scenarios. And I don't know, it seemed a little too simple to me. If you're a really big Princess Bride fan, I think it would be fun to experience these stories, but just playing it as a co-op game, there's probably a lot better choices out there. So your enjoyment of this game will be tied entirely to how much you want to play through the Princess Bride movie. So anyway, that's my hot take on it. Anyway. All right, next, Furnace. So, I'd mentioned before that Boru or whatever it was, Brian Boru, with that game that was my, most interested, the game that I most wanted to play at the con. But I would say Furnace was probably second. Heard a lot of good things about Furnace. It's got this novel auction mechanism going on. It's a quick to play game. And I saw a copy in the virtual flea market. And so I even pre-purchased, as it were, a copy of this game before I even got to the con. But anyway, in Furnace, you have a character. So you have like this asymmetric power from everybody else. And you have these bid tokens. And you just go around and you're bidding on these buildings that are out on offer. And it's pretty interesting because if you get the building, you have these abilities that are at the bottom. So the top line is what you can do with the building. The bottom line, which is sort of grayed out, is what you get if you upgrade the building. And then you can do both lines on the flip side. So, that's why you want to get these buildings. You want to get it into your tableau so you can trigger these during your, end of round actions and get all the stuff and the points. But the interesting strategic thing is you've got the top here, and the top is what you get what you get or get to do if you bid on the thing but lose. So it's interesting if somebody were to say like, I really need, this. I really need this tile. It's going to allow me to sell some bunch of stuff for money, whatever. And so they put a 4 on here. You can actually sneak in behind them and put the 3 on here. And what that means is when this card gets awarded, you get 3 times the runner-up benefit, in which case it's 2 money, right? You get 6 money just for, sticking your marker on there. So that's pretty interesting. There's some rules about it. You can't have 2 of the same numbers on a marker. You can't have 2 of the same color on a marker, so you can't bid on the same thing twice. This game is... I had a few issues with the game, so I want to play it some more before I give it a definitive rating. But, one was I think I needed to focus a little more right from the get-go on what is the thing that I'm going to do to generate points for the whole game. You only got 4 rounds, so you don't have a whole lot of time to build up a tableau, sort of a fancy engine. You got to real quick decide what you're going to do for points, I think, to be successful. But the other thing is, this really sort of bugs me. I almost want to play without them. These asymmetric powers that people have do not feel in any way, shape, or form like they are balanced. So, I had one that was pretty pathetic, and there were others out there that were just super powerful. Not so sure about, one guy had an extra bid token. Another guy got to... basically, he got to trigger the consolation benefit at 1 higher level or something. So he could put his 3 on something but trigger it 4 times, even though he lost the tile. It was crazy. Some of these benefits other people were getting. And meanwhile, I got I could use steel to do an upgrade or something. I don't know. It didn't feel balanced at all. And everybody who played, we played 4-player. I guess all of us agreed that it just didn't feel quite right. So again, I would like to play this more, and I have a copy, and so I will play it more. But my initial impression is it's not as good as what I was hoping. So there you go. Next is Fairy Tale Inn. So somebody I know had a copy of this, and my friend played it with them, and he said, "Hey, this is really good. It's like Connect 4, but with player powers. You should play this. Maybe your kids will like it." And it's Paolo Mori. I like a lot of Paolo Mori stuff. He's one of the 2 designers credited here anyway. But yeah, right. So it is Connect 4 with gamery mechanisms. It's got this thing that you're dropping people in. You're not actually trying to make a line of 4. But each one of these different tiles has some special power or ability. Something that, like, when you play them, you get something, or they nullify some other points, or they will score you some points at the end of the game. And you put the tiles in facing you, and the backside of them is sort of grayed out, so you can tell who placed which tile. And basically, you have 4 choices of tiles. The ones down here are free. The ones up here, you have to pay a little more to get them. And the money is points. So you're giving up points to, take something else that will otherwise move down in the queue. So it was a good game, and I didn't think my kids would actually enjoy it, though. I think it was a little too thinky for what my kids would like. My kids will play things like chess, right? So it's not like they don't play thinky games, but this felt like it needed to be a little more lightweight than it was. I wasn't sure my kids would enjoy it enough for me to, they might play it and have a good time, but it's not like they would constantly be pulling it off the shelf compared to the other games they have. So I'm going to pass on getting a copy of this one. But it is a solid game, and it's super fast. You play it in like 10 minutes. If this even looks interesting to you at all, give it a shot. And the last game of the day here on Friday was Iwari. So I had played Iwari for the first time at the Dice Tower Retreat last year and in Orlando. And we had some friends, and they who had recently gotten to the con that day, and they just wanted to play something. And I can't remember why we chose this, but it was something that was easy to teach and play since I already knew how to play it. And it fit the 5 players, actually, I guess, that we had. So that was good. But essentially, you've got area control going on. There's these cards, right? So you've got Ticket to Ride style. You collect these cards and you play them down in order to be able to put stuff on the map. So if you are playing a red card, you can put one thing in a red area. So one thing is either a tent or a totem. The tents actually score twice during the game, where the totems only score once at the end. I feel that the tents are a lot more valuable and worthwhile to pursue than the totems. I find that new players get sort of hung up on the totems and end up losing that way. But anyway, you can only play in one area. So if you have one red card, you can only play one thing in one red area. If you have a red and two green cards, you could play the two green cards as a red. So you play all three of your cards, and that allows you to put down two red things. And you're trying to get a longest path of your tents. You're trying to have the most control of an area. The scoring is a little interesting. This is only two players, so maybe not as interesting there. But the player who has the control of an area at the end for scoring of the tents, they get 1 point for every tent that's in there. Then the next player gets points according to how many tents the first player had, and the third player gets tents according to the number of tents the second player had, or whatever. So somebody could totally build out an area, put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tents. And you could just go drop one tent in and they would get 7 points and you would get 6, So interesting mechanism, way of scoring there. So it's real light in that it's, just get some cards on your turn and play or play cards to, make paths or whatever. It was an easy game to sort of end the night on. Played it a couple of times now, and I think it's a decent game. I think I would like to play it a third time with only people who weren't playing it for the first time to really sort of settle on my final opinion of this game. But currently it's not something I would go out and get, but it is definitely something I would play. And that's how I wrapped up my Friday night, wrapped up day 3 of Dice TowerCon. All right, day 4 for me. Saturday, day 4 is the last day. This was a lighter day for me. Had a group dinner with the Dice Tower folks. It took, probably 3 hours out of my evening. I also think this is the day that I played Guild of Merchant Explorers and Planet Unknown again. So, yeah, I'm not going to be talking about quite as many games today. But the first game that I played was Maglev Metro. So this is one that wasn't originally on my list, but somewhere along the way during the con, I reminded oh yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about this game. I would like to play it. I like Ted Alspach and a lot of the games he's done with Bezier, and again, heard good things about it. So, all right, I found a guy to teach it to me. It's got this cool acrylic tile thing, so you can overlay these acrylic tiles so they look like subway lines, so different people can have different spaces. And ultimately, you have these subway cars, whatever they're called, that are going to pick up these different robots and passengers, commuters and robots. It's a pick up and deliver game, which, I don't like pick up deliver a lot, but I thought it worked pretty well here. So, but although this is the map and these tiles are cool, this is what actually I think is cool to me. So you have this player board, and as you make these deliveries, so you can put these different, in this case, these are robots, you can put them in different areas to level up your actions. So you can get extra actions, you can level up what those actions do, and then over here you can get just points, and down here it unlocks some extra stuff for you. So this sort of engine building off of what you pick up and deliver is what I really liked about the game. I'm not going to buy this game. It only goes up to 4 players. So that sort of limits it to me. But I do recommend that if you like engine builders, to definitely give this a shot. It's cool how you can level up your abilities essentially. All right. So after this, I played Asterisk Endeavor Age of Sail. I say Asterisk because we didn't finish the game. We just played some of it. And also, I still am not sure how to play this game. I'm not sure if I played any of it right. It seemed like every time I tried to do something on my turn, there was a maybe misconception about what, how it had been taught or something. So things just didn't seem to flow quite like I was expecting. But you've got this board out here, and you're gonna go out and you're gonna try to claim these spots and take these tokens and get cards, and then ultimately you have this player board here, and you're trying to level up these different abilities. So this is every round you're going to get a new building for your tableau here. So this allows you to take a nicer building from the tableau, and then you have various different actions here. This one was confusing to me. This was, I think, the number of things you got to take off of your spaces so that you had new spaces to put. And this was the number of things that you got, because these things go on here but don't immediately come off. These also go out on the board of those other spaces I was talking about before. So that's why you need so many of them. And then there's also this weird thing that's got slavery in it. So you can take slavery cards early in the game to give you a benefit, but then later somebody's going to abolish slavery and it's going to screw you. So I like that. I like how that is treated in this game. As historically there was obviously the ability to use slavery, but then it's going to come back and bite you in the game. So I think that's a nice balancing of that subject. Anyway, so not sure I would play it again. It seems like it's a rather long game for what you get out of playing the game. But again, still not even sure I played it right. All right. A game I know that I played right because it's one of my favorite party games of all time. It's just one. So there was a kid and he had just set up a flag, players wanted, in the middle of the table, and had just one box there. We were standing there in the aisle having a conversation about something, and this kid was doing this, and I was waiting to. I couldn't start another game really because I was waiting to go somewhere. And it just wasn't time yet. So I had some time to kill, and I'm like, hey, look, this kid's set up just one. Let's all play. I had like 4 people with me. So, we sat down and somebody else joined, and, we just played, I think there were 7 of us. Yeah. And then went around the table twice. So we played a bunch of, cards from just one, and just one is really simple. You've got a card in front of you and you don't see what these words are. You pick a number, and then everybody else is trying to get you to guess whatever the word is that you've chosen. And so the thing that you've chosen is just one word, and everybody gets to write just one word on their placard as a clue. And before you get to see everybody's clues, if the players all compare, and if they wrote down the same clue, they have to sort of erase theirs or turn theirs face down or whatever. So you don't get that clue. So people have to be a little bit creative on what their clues are, but at the same time, you can't be too creative, and it can be tough, right? Because you can look at all the clues and be like, man, what is that? Is that Nintendo or is that Mario? So yeah, it's tough sometimes based on the clues that you get, but it's a cooperative game, right? So it's just fun. So then I went off to do an event, and I came back, and one of my other friends was waiting for some people to wrap something up, and so he grabbed Air, Land, and Sea. So this was something that he had wanted to play with me at the retreat, and I think they had just accidentally forgotten to bring it or something. It wasn't in the library. So he went and grabbed it, and it's a fairly simple game. You have a hand of cards. Your opponent has a hand of cards, and then you're just taking turns playing these cards. And you're basically trying to control either, the land, sea, air, and you want to control 2 of them to win the round. And one of the strategic things about this game is you can just give up. And it gives your opponent less points for that round when they win it. And giving up is strategic, right? Because you can just see that you're not going to win. So, just go ahead and make that decision to give up. I will say, though, that the game, I don't know, it felt kind of random to a certain extent. I don't know. You'll have some cool card like this one, right? Where, it's a strength 4, which is pretty good. And then it also lets you play battle cards of strength 3 or less in other theaters, which is cool because now you can play this air card over in the sea, and that gives you +3 strength in each adjacent theater. So it's better if it's in the middle. If you have a card that just doesn't fit whatever you're doing, you can put it face down. It has a 2 value. And this one, like maybe this was an air card, so you could just stick it in land to have some points. But what I found was more often than not, I didn't know it was in my opponent's hand, and it would just screw up whatever I'm doing, right? Like, so maybe I would have a plan, like I'm going to play this 4 so that next turn I can play this 1. And so then I'll play this 4, and then he'll play some card that flips this card upside down. And I'm like, all right, do I have something in my hand to allow me to flip that back over? So I guess I'll play that now so I can flip that over. And then he has another card that flips it back down or whatever, I don't know, or something that moves something around or whatever. I felt like there was too much of, I don't know. It's maybe if you've played the game a lot, you've memorized all the cards and you're like, oh, well, what if he has this? What if he has that? Then I need to do this and whatever, etc. And you are trying to sandbag a little bit because you don't want your opponent to give up early if you have a really good hand. But I don't know, just, we played it a handful of times and it felt like I saw everything the game had to offer, and it was interesting, but not fun. So, anyway, give it a shot if you have access to it. But I wouldn't, recommend going out and buying it or anything. And so I decided to wrap up the night and therefore wrap up the con with Ticket to Ride map collection, Team Asia, Legendary Asia, whatever. We were playing the team version of Ticket to Ride. So we had 6 players. And, there's just this giant Asia map that I think my map looked better than that. So anyway, that's probably not the team map. That's probably the flip side of the map or something. But anyway, it's I'm going to try this picture. That looks more like what we had. Okay. So it's interesting. You've got these wooden holders out in front of you because you have this shared stuff between you. There are cards that you have in your hand, train cars. So in fact, on your turn, if you're going to take train cars, you take one and you put one in the community pile. You have to put one in the pile and then one for yourself. I mean, if you take 2, I guess if you took a rainbow wild, whatever, right off the board, and you're only taking 1, you could put it in either place. But there are some public goals, but then there's also private goals. So you and your teammate have private goals that you don't know about. You and your teammate have private train cars you may not know what you have. And you have the public ones shared, and you're not allowed to communicate with your teammate. You do go sequentially, though, which can be helpful. Anyway, it's an interesting take on Team Ticket to Ride. It is basically just Ticket to Ride, but you and a teammate, and it's just funny because I don't know, I was just screwing around with my teammate, and we were having a lot of fun. I mean, I'm silly here into the end of the con for me, the last day, so probably a little punch drunk from not getting enough sleep, but it was a good way to end the con. But anyway, there you go. So those are all the games that I played at Dice Tower Con East 2022. Most of these were new games to me. If you liked this, you want to hear about the games that I played at the Dice Tower Retreat in Orlando last year, I'll link a video down below. You can click on that video to go check that out. Or if you want to see my top 100 games of all time, you can click on that video and see what I think about those games. But otherwise, just come over to our Discord channel, chat about games with me, or just leave a comment in the comments below, and I'll be happy to respond to them. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.